Amir had always been a quiet boy, one of those children who seemed to observe the world more than participate in it. Even as a child, he found solace not in toys or loud games, but in the soft hum of rain tapping against the windows of their small house, in the morning songs of birds perched on the old oak tree out front, and most of all, in the laughter of his mother, Maryam, as she brewed tea in their modest kitchen. The house was small, its bricks faded, and its wooden floors squeaked beneath their feet, but to Amir, it was a palace because it was filled with warmth. That warmth came entirely from her. Maryam was his entire world. She had been both mother and father since Amir was just 2 years old, after his father abandoned them for a life elsewhere. She worked tirelessly at the local textile factory, her hands rough and blistered, her back bent with fatigue, yet she carried herself with grace and resilience. She never once let Amir feel the sting of poverty. To him, they were rich because every night, no matter how exhausted she was, she smiled, held him close, and filled their tiny home with love. From a young age, Amir noticed the toll life had taken on her. He noticed the fine lines etching themselves into her face, the way her eyes often looked tired despite her smile, and the cracks in her hands that told stories of endless labor. But Maryam was unshakable. She had dreams not for herself but for Amir. "You will study, my son," she would say, brushing his hair back from his forehead as he drifted off to sleep. "You will grow into a man who lives free from these burdens." Her voice was always soft but strong, like a lullaby of strength and hope. Years passed, and Amir grew up with those words carved into his heart. He excelled in school, his natural intelligence earning him respect from his teachers and admiration from his peers. But he was never distracted by praise. His heart was always tethered to home, to the small kitchen where his mother hummed old songs, to the oak tree outside their house where they would sit together and watch sunsets bleed into the sky. He often spent hours sketching that tree, their house, and his mother. Art was his escape, his secret passion, a world where he could capture fleeting emotions in pencil and paper. Maryam, however, never let on just how hard she worked behind the scenes. She hid her exhaustion with laughter, masking the pain in her joints and the weight of years of sacrifice. Every month, she tucked a small amount of money into a tin box hidden behind a loose wooden panel in their kitchen cabinet. Amir never knew about the box, he only knew that his mother worked harder than anyone he'd ever met. Late at night, when Amir was asleep, Maryam would often write letters, words she didn't dare say aloud. She'd fold them neatly, place them in the tin box, and kiss the paper as if sealing her love in ink. One letter was addressed to Amir. She wrote it with trembling hands under the dim glow of a flickering lamp, her heart heavy with an unspoken fear that her time with him might not be as long as she wished. Amir grew into a tall, thoughtful young man, and soon the time came for him to leave for university. Maryam insisted he go, even though Amir offered to stay and work to help her. "No, my son," she said firmly, tears glistening in her tired eyes. "You must go. You must see the world. Don't chain yourself here for my sake. My dream is to see you live yours." The morning he left was cold and wet. Rain drizzled softly as Maryam packed food into his worn-out bag, her hands lingering on each item as though they were treasures. She hugged him tightly at the bus stop, burying her face into his shoulder. "Be brave, my boy," she whispered, her voice cracking. "Write your story." Amir boarded the bus, pressing his palm against the window as he looked back. She stood alone under the flickering streetlight, her small frame hunched but strong, waving until he disappeared into the distance. Something inside Amir's chest ached, a deep unease he couldn't shake. Life at university was overwhelming. The city was loud, crowded, and harsh, so unlike the quiet comfort of home. Amir missed his mother terribly, but they spoke every night over the phone. She'd ask about his classes, scold him gently about skipping meals, and laugh at his attempts to sound grown up. Her voice was his anchor. But over time, Amir noticed a change. Her voice grew weaker, her laughter thinner. She began ending calls earlier, always assuring him she was just tired. Then one evening, Amir's phone rang. It wasn't his mother, it was a neighbor from back home, her voice trembling. "Amir, it's your mother." She collapsed. "You need to come home." The words sent his world spiraling. He threw clothes into a bag and boarded the first bus home, his heart pounding so loudly he could barely think. The journey felt endless. The familiar sights of his small town blurred through the window, and when he finally arrived at the hospital, the smell of antiseptic and fear hit him like a wall. He found her in a quiet room, her body frail and fragile against the stark white sheets. Machines beeped softly, each sound a cruel reminder of her mortality. "Mama," Amir choked out as he rushed to her side. Maryam opened her eyes and smiled weakly, her lips pale. "My boy," she whispered, reaching for his hand. Her fingers were cold, trembling as she brushed away his tears. "You came." "Of course, I came," Amir sobbed, holding her hand tightly. "Don't talk like that, Mama. You're going to be okay." She smiled faintly, her gaze full of love. "You're so strong, Amir. Stronger than you know." Her breathing grew labored, but she held his hand until sleep overtook her again. A week later, she was gone. Amir stood at her graveside, numb, clutching a single white rose. The town gathered to pay their respects, but he felt alone, shattered beyond words. The world seemed muted, colors dull, as though life itself had dimmed. Returning to their home was even harder. The house felt haunted, not by ghosts, but by memories. Her laughter echoed in every creak of the floor, her warmth clung to the worn furniture, and the smell of her perfume lingered faintly in the air. Amir wandered aimlessly until he remembered the loose kitchen panel. Something urged him to look there. Behind it, he found the tin box. Inside, he discovered stacks of money, carefully folded, and a single envelope with his name on it. His heart pounded as he opened it. "My dearest Amir," the letter began, her familiar handwriting trembling across the page. "If you are reading this, I am no longer by your side. I wanted to leave you something more than memories, though memories are the greatest gift we share. I worked all these years to save this money for you. I wanted you to live freely, to chase your dreams, to never be trapped in the cycle I was. My boy, you have always been my pride. I need you to know that I love you more than words can capture. When life feels heavy, close your eyes and remember me. I'll be there, in every breeze, every sunset, every quiet moment. Be brave, Amir. The world is waiting for your story." Amir clutched the letter to his chest, sobbing until his body ached. He felt her presence in the words, as if she were sitting beside him, holding him just like she used to. The grief was unbearable, but the love in that letter was a lifeline. For months, Amir struggled to find his way. He returned to university, but his heart wasn't in it. Nights were long and lonely, haunted by dreams of her voice calling his name. Yet slowly, her words began to guide him forward. He poured his emotions into his art, using pencils and brushes to paint his grief, his love, and his memories of her. His work caught the attention of his professors, and before long, Amir was offered the chance to showcase his paintings. Years later, Amir stood in a bustling art gallery, his paintings displayed proudly on the walls. People admired his work, some even moved to tears. At the center of the gallery hung a portrait of Maryam. She looked serene, her eyes soft, her lips curved in that familiar gentle smile. A reporter approached Amir, asking about the inspiration behind his art. Amir's voice trembled, but he smiled. "My mother," he said simply. "She believed in me when no one else did. Every stroke of paint you see is because of her." The gallery's success opened doors Amir never thought possible. He became a celebrated artist, his name recognized for paintings that carried raw emotion. Yet despite his success, he remained humble. He often visited their old home, sitting under the oak tree where he and his mother used to watch the sunset. One evening, as he walked home from the gallery, he saw a group of children drawing with chalk on the sidewalk. He crouched down and joined them, sketching a delicate flower. A little girl watched him closely, then said softly, "You draw just like my mom." The words pierced his heart, but instead of pain, they brought warmth. He smiled at her, ruffling her hair, and thought of Maryam. Her spirit was everywhere, in the laughter of children, in the warmth of a stranger's kindness, in every sunrise that promised a new beginning. That night, Amir returned to his studio and pulled out the letter he always carried in his pocket. He read it again, as he had hundreds of times before. Tears filled his eyes, but this time they were not of sorrow but gratitude. "I'm doing it, Mama," he whispered softly, looking up at the sky. "I'm living the story you dreamed for me." And for the first time in years, he felt at peace. He knew she was proud of him, watching from a place beyond pain and time, her love eternal and unwavering. Her voice still echoed in his heart, guiding him through life like a gentle hand on his shoulder. And though the world would never feel quite as warm without her in it, Amir had learned something beautiful. Love, once given so freely and deeply, never truly dies. It lingers, reshaping itself into memories, inspiration, and hope, carrying us forward even in the darkest nights. As the first light of dawn spilled through his studio window, Amir dipped his brush into paint and began a new canvas. The scene was of a sunrise over their old house, the oak tree standing tall, and a silhouette of his mother watching over him with that same soft smile. He painted with tears in his eyes, but also a quiet smile on his lips, because he knew, this was not the end of their story. It was only the beginning of hers living through him.